Ah, yes. Ah, yes. In the Paddock F1, green the cheese. You know what that sound means. The holiday season, so we're on holiday. We take a little trip to that fantasy island of Greentopia, where the beer flows like wine and the wine flows like beer. And the cannabis, oh yes, it grows as far as the eye can see. Look at it out there. Look at it. Green and luscious. Take a little whiff. That air smells fantastic. We ain't got no race to talk about. We really ain't got no news to talk about. This Christmas week. There ain't diddly poo going on. But we're here anyway. We'll come up with something.
How positive for the fans that tune in, that are excited for something. There's always something. There's always something going on in Red Bull. Always something going on in Red Bull, that's for sure. But always something going on in Formula One, and that is for sure. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully everyone had a great, merry, wonderful Christmas, happy winter solstice, and all that comes with it as we approach the new year. And listen, Red Bull is probably the only news going on. I think we're like Yuki Tsunoda meltdown watch at the moment, and I think that's all we have to look forward to. So I think Yuki and that situation with Liam Lawson gets highlighted. Liam Lawson's numbers, and everything he's done so far look promising. Definitely looks better than Sergio Perez, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to talk about Sergio Perez ever again, because he's probably never come back to Formula One, but he is, looks like he's rumored to be heading over to IndyCar. But I digress. Jeez. Looking at the numbers at the end of the season, looking at all these different races and the analytics that have been pouring out on the internet, some say McLaren was so up and down this year that they're going to have a really hard time competing again. Others are saying with any decent driver at Red Bull, you have a really much more competitive Red Bull team. And
absolutely,
the most consistent team all year looked like Ferrari at the end of the season, being the most consistent as far as race-to-race performance, as opposed to other teams just up and down all season. More so out of the top teams, because teams were everywhere up and down, everywhere all season. You're good one week, you're terrible the next. So if you're looking at overall performance, looks like Ferrari might have finished towards the top there. Obviously not in regards to points, but where do you see so far, as we look into your crystal ball, 2025 going? Is this just going to be the Red Bull domination again and Max Verstappen's the greatest in the world? Or are we going to have some competition this year as we ruffle and shake out the tree?
I think there'll be competition all the way through the season, but you never know. You never know. Teams could make changes to their car and be the wrong changes. So you won't know anything until really the first weekend in Bahrain to see where everybody's going to shake out. Because you can't really even look at testing, because nobody puts everything out there during testing because they don't want to show their hand until you get to the start of the season. So you really won't know until then, until what you're really going to have. I mean, we didn't know we were going to have the season we had this year. After the start, we all thought it was going to be a, Max Verstappen Red Bull show. Then it all came. Then that house of cards completely fell apart. So
when we left China,
you really have, when we left China, at that point it was, it's going to be the Max Verstappen Red Bull show for the whole season. Then it all turned on its head. So you really can't predict that.
Speaking
and then
of
a lot of how much are teams really going to invest into the 2025 car with the reg changes coming in 26? So how much are teams really going to... You could get to mid-season, and if you don't think you have a shot, you could just back off and put all your concentration onto the 2026 car. So that's a meatball out there as well.
Absolutely. 100% absolutely. And so next year is a weird year, right? So we're heading into a weird season. Almost every driver lineup is going to be different from this season. And it's really tough to know what to expect. Is there a team... True question. Is there a team that you'd be surprised... Or, I'm sorry, wouldn't be surprised, would not be surprised if it just took off and pulled a Red Bull of the last several years or a Merc for the bunch of seasons before that? Is there a team that would just turn it around? Whether McLaren takes off, whether Ferrari just takes off from day one and just it's over.
I wouldn't be surprised if Aston Martin became something. With the addition of Newey, making changes to that car, so I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Nope.
Out of the top teams, not really much would really surprise me unless they just rolled out the gates, spitting the bit, being massively on the back foot. But the only thing that would really wouldn't really surprise me would probably be Aston Martin becoming something.
Lance Stroll consistently making a podium.
I don't know about that. Maybe Alonso making podiums and maybe Stroll scoring points because it's still, Lance Stroll. So
they're one of the most interesting duos in history of Formula One. History. You got a guy who hasn't won a title in 15 seasons.
Yeah.
Trying to compete with Adrian Newey now for a title. Racing with a spoiled brat. The owner's son. It's just so interesting. Aston Martin's fascinating. It was fascinating this year, but with Newey in the mix, it makes it even more fascinating. Yep. So I'd love to see them compete. I think there's a hole in Formula One right now amongst the top teams. There's definitely some leverageability for another team to rear its head. I don't think you'll have a surprise like a Williams, starting to consistently pull top five. But
apparently Carlos put down some serious times in the postseason tire test. So he was looking really good in the Williams. But, that's also this year's car, not next year's car. So we'll see.
We'll see. But to your point, the cars probably aren't going to change massively.
No.
Between now and then. So there's not going to be a massive adjustment. But if you can find a way that's not an expensive adjustment and the engineer can figure a way to, cut 0.2 of a second, out somewhere by doing something innovative, you never know who can make leaps and bounds. Probably won't be Haas, although it could be. It will be very interesting. I'm sure we'll give you a Haas show, exclusive preseason Haas talk prior to the start of the next season. I know you're excited for that. Buckle up.
Oh, that's right.
Buckle up.
The Bear Man is coming.
The Bear Man is coming. Speaking of which, Max Verstappen talking about switching teams for 2026, talking about retiring altogether from the sport. What are you hearing, if anything, besides rumors?
Max has been talking about that for a while. It's all rumors. I mean, there's been talk about him leaving this year, going into next year, that he would leave Red Bull because the car's not competitive. The car's not competitive, and there's another car that's competitive, probably will jump. I mean, he wants to win championships. But then he also doesn't care about setting records or anything either. So he'll just walk away when he wants to walk away. He already has sim racing businesses and stuff set up already. So he's already got that plan. He said he wants to do other things. He doesn't want to be
he doesn't need to do anything.
Driver his whole life. He doesn't have to do anything. So
do anything. He's got, speaking of which, and speaking of Max Verstappen, as dry as it is on the Formula One news front, a question was asked. I'm curious to get your response. A question was asked to Max Verstappen at a press conference, I believe, fairly recently. I have to go back and look at exactly who asked it and when. But is his child, who's not yet born, going to be have a shot with Red Bull and, of course, their junior team one day? When would they need to be signed? Can they sign him now? I think was the specific question.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so physically. Although I'm sure the lawyers could work something out. Again, that's how downtrodden we are for F1 News right now.
There's no guarantee that they would want to be a driver either.
Yeah, well, if your father's Max Verstappen and your mother's father is, what's his name? What the hell did he marry? Like Prost's daughter?
I think it's Prost's daughter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Prost's daughter. That's a heck of a lineage.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a lineage.
Maybe they'll spit out the Quizzes Hatterack of Formula One racing.
You wanted to add that in for a while, didn't you? I'm going to drop that one.
I got nothing else, dude. That's all I got for you. I got nothing else on that. I got nothing else on that topic.
Well, Formula One news is dry, but I'm glad we can give you a little bit of something, a little bit of entertainment, and keep you up to date. We will be back with a little more up to date stuff, and I'm sure as we get closer to next season, things will be brewing. I think we're the only people not talking about speculation of who's going to be on the Cadillac roster for 2026 as far as the seats there. I'm sure we'll get to that eventually, as we were excited this time last year-ish about Lewis Hamilton's transition to Ferrari, but that was big news. And who else is coming up? And we have some new faces coming up. People are excited about coming into F2 this year. There's a lot to talk about, and 2026 will be here before you know it, even though 2025 is coming only days away. Enjoy the end of your 2024, and of course, say what you got to say, brother.
Oh, as always, Happy New Year, and stay medicated, my friends.
Peace.